Oh, it's things that
What?
we remember.
Yeah.
It ain't going yet. I'm just sorting things out, getting this panning right.
Do you know, I don't remember a lot about Warren Farm School.
Oh,
Not
I
as a school. Because it was
I
also the
do,
workhouse.
because I can
Yeah.
remember.
Did
No,
you know that?
wait till he starts.
Yes, I did know that.
We were in there.
Say that again, Bob. In a minute, when he's ready.
Warren Farm School,
Yeah.
I don't remember too much about actually going to the school from Warren Avenue.
I do, because
Yeah, you
my
went, 'cause I was that
teacher
much younger, you see.
was Mr Oldacre.
Oh, Willie Oldacre.
And they had this great big dormitory up the top, and that's where we slept. Do you remember ever sleeping in there? But you were in the nursery, weren't you?
Yes.
See?
What
Now,
was
at
that?
one point, I was in the infirmary.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with me. But I'd been putting my hands on the radiator and then touching my face. Don't know why. And of course, I'd got such red cheeks, they thought I was, you know,
Sickening.
sickening for something. So they put me in the infirmary. And so I so liked it there, I kept on doing it.
Do you want to start this thing and introduce who they all are?
Okay, well I need to so it's Lucy?
Yes.
Yes, and
Sylvia, Desmond.
Bob. No,
I
Bob.
know we call him Bob, but
Yeah, Bob.
whichever you think, because we will be saying Bob.
And
Put
you
Bob.
were all Phippses
Yes.
as
Yeah.
children. Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, you
Well,
don't
go
want
on
me. You don't want me introducing it, do you?
No, you've got a problem with me.
Okay. Right. So you're going to start with your earliest memories of Woodingdean.
Yeah, which was Warren Farm School. Mum and Dad had to go in the workhouse. And so, of course, naturally then the children go to Warren Farm School. And what happened was we used to get up to the workhouse, go through the main part, and there used to be like a little separate place, didn't there, Bob? Mm. And so the children, well, Mum would be allowed to take us in, but then she was taken away, just time to say ta-da, and we were taken in, we had to strip off, they used to bath us,
In a Lysol bath.
knit comb our hair, wash it, knit comb it with Durback soap, and then, well, I think we might have been put in night clothes,
Yeah.
then put in an ambulance and driven to Warren Farm School. Now, we didn't see Mum again or Dad until such times as we came back out.
In other words, when Dad might have got a job
Yeah, job or
and somewhere
to
for
live.
us to live. But until
Um,
then, we was inside it, you know. the work.
No, you were in the nursery though.
Yeah.
Now, for some reason, I remember vaguely going to the nursery. They probably thought, well, they're sisters, so let them get together for a little while. She was only about, I reckon, about 3,
Possibly.
2 or 2.5, 3. And she was sitting in a high chair, and her hands behind her back. I think they'd sort of taped them or tied them, because she had chicken pox. I was supposed to stop her scratching. But you wouldn't do that now, would you? So that's that memory. Now on a Sunday they used to take us for walks along Warren Avenue and across where the old swimming pool used to be. We hated it because missing Mum and Dad, but we were fed well, the beds were lovely and clean, their clothes were lovely. So this happened on 3 occasions.
Yeah.
The first time was when I was just getting on for 5. And again, Dad had lost his job. We used to live in Home Farm in Brighton, near Preston Barracks. I was born there. Used to be up just behind the library in them days. And you went up under the railway arch and there was cottages and a farm. That's where I was born.
And
Now that's
people
the
that
first time I remember I was getting on for 5. Bob was, well, 18 months younger. Sil was a little one in the pushchair. And on the way I'd got like a butterfly net. And we were arguing, I suppose, me and Bob together.
Which we always did, of course.
And Mum had said, no, you know, more or less, stop arguing over it, and she put it behind the pushchair. So it was sticking out. It went straight into my eye. and it poured with blood. And we were on our way to the workhouse yet again, well, first time. And you know, they did nothing about it. They simply took us in, did what I said before, put us over in the Warren Farm.
Yeah, I always remember that Lysol bath because it was yellow. You stepped into this yellow water.
Yeah.
And it was stuff they called Lysol, I don't know exactly what it was,
Sheep
but
did.
obviously to kill any fleas of any sort. And another thing I remember about that place was that we were given little tasks to do, you know, as part of the, I suppose, payment for being there. And I can remember a big long line of shoes which had to be cleaned. So you was constantly, you know, moving along this line of shoes, polishing each pair of shoes. Yeah, that was a rough old time. But then, as Lou said, the girls were in there 3 times altogether.
Yeah.
Well, I only remember twice. And the reason was that on the 3rd time, which was 1938, or getting close to that, wasn't it?
Yes, round about then.
Dad and me happened to be not in when Mum and the girls were taken into the workhouse. We weren't in, so when we got back, I can't remember if the place was locked up, but in any case we couldn't live there. This was at Newmarket Farm.
Yeah.
So what Dad and me did was sleep in the bushes on the slope that goes down to Falmer Road. There used to be a big patch of bushes which are no longer there, and we built a little cabin in there, and Dad and me stayed in there for 7 weeks.
That's the time.
And I was 10 years old.
I remember when, before we left there, on our way to the workhouse,
That was the good old days.
I had a blue teddy bear on a little thing, and I remember digging a hole up, not far from the gate to the Judge Road, and burying it, and covering it up. As though it would still be any good later. I spent the rabbits off foxes dug it up.
Yeah, and I
Funny
think
what memories you
that time when you went in the workhouse, Mum ended up in a place in Seven Dials, didn't she?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the girls, was it?
Yeah, but we were in the Warren Farm at that stage. I was 12.
Yeah.
So that would have been, you know, about 38.
38, coming up to 38.
And they'd moved us then to a place off
Portland?
Western Road somewhere.
Yes.
And it
Off
was
the
so
seafront.
vastly
In
different.
Norfolk Square.
Yes,
Was it
and you
Norfolk
had
Square?
lovely, like separate tables and forkies on each. It was all done lovely. So different than what it was in the workhouse, you know, Warren Farm.
So you see what we mean when we say we were a poor family, we certainly were. No doubt about that.
But then, of course, after that, I think my next memory was of, I don't know how we come to be able to move into the bungalow in Warren Avenue. I don't know how it came about, because they were private, they weren't sort of council run or anything. So whether they must have thought we could eventually buy it, very out of date for. Again, we were tasked out, didn't pay the rent. And that's when I think we ended up living with this, what became friends of ours, in Vernon Avenue, and she put us up. They had like a long sort of outhouse built onto the side of the bungalow to use as a playroom for the kids. But it was all asbestos, which of course you wouldn't be able to do now. And we lived in there for quite a while. Do you remember that, Bob, in there?
I don't.
No,
Yeah,
vaguely I can remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember a lot.
And of course it was cold then, wasn't it? Because some of that asbestos had broken away,
Yeah,
so you got all the drafts coming in.
yeah.
And that's how we lived, really, for the most of our young lives.
And of course the war came along, so things improved.
It for us, because
Yeah.
we was evacuated.
Oh, and then of course, yeah, but during the war then I came back to Woodingdean and lodged with Penry Jones up Balsdean Road. Them days it was the first house up there. The road wasn't even made up, it was all rough tracks. And I remember going up in the dark one night, because you had no lights then, and although I'd heard of glowworms, I'd never seen any, and they were all in these pots, all lit up. Of course, I still didn't think about glowworms. I thought it's got to be the latest war thing to do with Hitler. He's had something black. Anyway, that was one thing about that. Another thing was, we'd gone to bed one night in this house, as I say, and I heard what I thought was a motorbike, and as I thought went past, so the lights went round the walls, you know, like a light would from a car. But of course it must have been a doodlebug. That's what made me think it was a motorbike. And there was one that crashed at Falmer, wasn't there? So
Yeah.
whether that was the one...
Down the
Yeah.
avenue, what we call the avenue at Falmer, you know, when you
Yeah.
leave Falmer going to Lewis, there's a row of trees and a V1 crashed
I
down
didn't
there.
know about that.
Then another time, Henry Jones, he'd been to get his... I don't know why he had to go to Lewis to get his money, like a pension almost. But as I said, he came home slightly inebriated. And he'd bought, you know, well, you perhaps wouldn't know, they used to do a pack of candles, 36. I bet he got them from Price's. He put them all round the house in every window. It was lit up like bloody Blackpool Tower. Within about 5 minutes, the air overall was up there. Put the lights out. And then he bought a puppy dog home. He'd been to Lewis, got his money again. He came home, as I say, inebriated. And this poor little puppy had got it upside down with its head hanging down here. I could tell you a bit more, but I don't think I'd better go into that.
Yeah, but going back to Newmarket, which was our
Yeah,
best place, wasn't it?
We enjoyed it.
We used to think that was the best place on earth, and without a doubt to us it was.
Still do.
what
Because it,
Still think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the best spot.
even
Oh,
our
I
mum's
love
ashes
it.
Would have
are
our
spread
happiest.
at Newmarket Cottage. Even that had its funny side, because we went up there, didn't we, the three of us, to lay his mum's ashes to rest. And I'd had her in the...
I wasn't there, Bob, I didn't
I'd
come
had her in the
over.
van for
Yes,
3
you were.
months.
No, I wouldn't, Phil. No.
Not knowing what to do, you know, and then we decided to get together and go and spread them where we
I don't
knew
remember being
she
there.
would want them to be. You was there,
I can't
She
remember it.
was.
yeah. And we
I
drove,
can't remember. My memory's usually good.
we drove up the driveway,
Yeah.
which you could in those days,
Yeah.
and we walked down to our fence where the rubble was,
Yeah.
and the girl said, "You're going to do it," so I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I took the top off the little container, walked to this fence with the idea of throwing the ashes onto the ruins. What I didn't take into account was the wind. So I spread the ashes, you know, and almost straight away back in my face.
Yeah, but Mum was always in your face, the bit, wasn't she?
And we had a laugh because we thought Mum having the last go at us.
You haven't got that on there, have you?
It's so funny. But that was a wonderful place,
I
Newmarket.
bet Dad, though, when he wasn't buried, he was, what's his name, wasn't he? Cremated. But he helped build the chimney of the crematorium.
Yeah.
And like Phil said, little did he know when he was building it, he'd go up it one day.
And the other crematorium at the top, in the
Awful sense
Is
of
it,
humour we've got.
We have got a real sense of humour.
yeah,
but,
is it the Downs Valley one, or what is it? The top
Down-
crematorium.
The Downs and there's
Yeah, well, my two uncles
I think
built
it's
that,
Downs top,
Boom
yeah.
Brothers of Brighton, and I believe they were ended up there as well, and they built it.
Now then another time in Woodingdean,
Woodvale.
I also
Woodvale.
lived in Balsdean Avenue and stayed with a friend who had a railway carriage. It was beautiful in there. So lovely and warm and cosy.
Who was that?
It really was. Flo Elliott, I don't think you knew her still.
Yes, yeah.
She lived in Balsdean Avenue, up on the left-hand side. So whether that was the railway carriages, you thought you could see behind
no, I
Silver
thought that
Birch.
railway carriage was in Warren Avenue behind Silver Birch.
There might have been
There
one
was a
there,
little
but
track went down.
no,
to it.
because you could. The one I stayed in, Vernon,
Oh no, it wouldn't
you could
happen,
actually
would
see it visible,
it? Yeah,
you know, which I don't think you would if it had been the other one.
no.
How
So I
about
was right
Sunday
there.
school, Billum?
Oh, Bilham's Sunday School,
Bilham's,
yes. He had I know it was a caravan,
Excuse me.
and he used to have the little kids going Sundays, like a little Sunday school. And I know he had chickens there. Now that was somewhere near where we were living in, what was it
Silver
called?
Birch.
Silver
Silver
Birch. And it was not so bloke, wasn't he? What was he exactly? He was something like...
He was a religious chap,
Yeah.
very religious man.
That's right.
He was a sort of vicar without being paid.
He was quite
That's
kind.
right, yes.
And he used to make his living out of reclamation of old houses and that. And his house,
Yeah.
his old bungalow down there was full up with old glass and
Yeah.
window frames and guttering and everything round the back. If you wanted it, he got it.
Well, like I say, I thought that the
I know
place
there was
behind-
chicken there, and you know, they had the wire going around, the netting, like wire
I'm fairly
netting.
certain it was a railway carriage that he had at the back of Silver Birch.
That's right. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, because I remember going along there to visit him for some reason. I can't remember.
You
It
used
was
to
like a little
put
green
me up
path went
Huh?
along to it.
You put me up to saying naughty things, and he couldn't
Oh, no, yeah,
understand
we
me.
won't
It's
mention
just
that.
as well won't say.
What about going back to
naughty.
Newmarket? What about the ghost stories about Dad?
Oh yeah, talking about Sally, or the grey lady, which was it? Well,
Well, the one
Both.
that happened in the house to start
oh that
with,
one, yeah.
where Mum and Dad had gone to bed, and Mum during the night woke up for some reason, and she heard something, and she listened, and she heard the latch of a door being lifted. So she sort of got frightened, and what the heck's this, you know? And then she could hear footsteps on the stairs, boom, 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 up the stairs, and then the bedroom door latch was lifted, and she was terrified, but she didn't say anything. The month was August, by the way, so that was on a Sunday. So on the following Sunday, again they're in bed, and the same thing happens. So Mum thought, oh, I've had enough of this. So she woke Ted, husband, my dad, and he said, oh, I'll go back to sleep. He said,
I
I
knew
heard that
about
last week.
this.
That was it. That's
That Woodingdean report
And then,
they've got it as leopard.
there was always
And I
talk
said,
about
I'm sure it was leopard.
there was always talk about a ghost called the Grey Lady.
I've heard of it.
And Mum and Dad had been walking down to Balsdean Farm, where Dad used to work, and they passed.
That was on the German road.
No, down the middle. I'll explain that later. They passed a little old lady coming the other way in a grey coat, grey clothing, and acknowledged her. And then they looked round maybe a few seconds later and she'd gone. And then they looked up on top of the hill and there she was at the top of the hill in seconds. And Dad had said, oh, I'll do something about that. It's the Grey Lady, the ghost of the Grey
Yeah, she
Lady.
waved him on it one time.
Pardon?
She waved them on.
Yeah, that's right.
As they
Yeah,
were
it stood aside
passing
and
her.
let them pass by.
She was stood looking out over the valley, and then she moved up to the path as they were going to pass, and Mum said, just keep walking, Ted. So, and as they passed, Dad lifted his cap, evening, and the woman just more or less passed through.
Yeah.
I bet they know I'm involved.
And this is going back maybe 35, 36, somewhere there. So, yeah.
Remember the night we caught the chimney on fire
Oh,
over there?
yeah,
That was
funny.
funny, wasn't it?
Every Saturday, Mum used
My sister, my youngest sister, was 2 weeks old. She'd have been about 5, 7. I was 9. Mum and Dad left me in charge. Well, they went into Brighton.
Years old.
Hours
Shopping.
and hours they'd gone. I don't know what I was supposed to feed the baby with, but whatever. We decided we'd light the fire, where we'd nothing to burn but a gorse bush. So we poked in the grate,
Oh, I went
lit
got
it,
Market
woof,
Bush.
chimney was completely on fire. I had nothing to give the baby except a bit of margarine. I kept putting it on my finger and putting it in her mouth. Do you know, she ended up as black as soot. All you could see there was the eyes. Where the soot had stuck to the grease.
And then we sat there in the dark, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And suddenly there was a tap on the window, and we all looked up, and there was this awful looking face, one appearing through. Gypsy Bill. It was a friend of Mum and
Yeah, he
Dad's.
used to come over now and again, but as kids, we weren't clean on, we wouldn't open the door, would we?
No.
No.
Do you want to take a break here a minute?
Yeah,
So we'll take a break. We'll have
good
some more tea for a moment. That's it.
I can remember, for a start, we used to walk down on a Sunday morning to get the news of the world for Dad.
Oh yeah, I
And a bar of
remember.
double six chocolate, do you remember that?
Yes.
And Mrs. Newbury, we got on well with her, didn't we?
Yes,
It was almost
yeah,
like
she
an
put up with
aunt.
a lot,
was,
didn't
yeah,
she?
she put up with a lot.
She was kind.
And she had a
Oh.
piano in her restaurant bit.
Oh, that noise that used to make.
And we'd say to her, can we play the piano, Mrs. Newbury? Yeah, go on.
Let us know when
So
you're
we go
ready.
bang, bang, bang on this piano. You've never
Because
heard
they're not
such a
gonna-
racket in your life.
Talk
And she
until
used
he's
to put up with it
ready.
all. Yeah. Wasn't it?
Yeah, and Mrs. Newbury, when I lived up in Vernon Avenue, she used to be frightened of air raid warnings, just the warning itself. So she used to get me to go down there in the evening to her. They should make me beans on toast, which to me was a luxury during the war, because I didn't see much food. And then, as soon as an air raid warning went, she'd get her bag with all her shop takings, put it all in the bag, and you know the triangle of grass outside the downs? There used to be a air raid shelter built into that, and I'd go down there with her until, you know, it was all clear. That's one of the stories of Mrs. Newbury.
That's opposite the police box that was outside the
Yes, that
Yeah,
little triangle.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
Doctor Who.
yeah. And of course we used to shop there anyway, when we lived over the downs even. Although Mum sold teas and put a notice on the gate, teas, there was times when somebody'd come and knock on the door for a cup of tea and we hadn't got any. And I had an old bike at one point, it had no tyres, but I still biked down to Newbury's for £2 for tea. And went back, and of course she had time to make the tea. Things like that. Yeah.
And what about the Aikmans? Do you remember them?
The what?
The Aikmans, the old Woodingdean hand laundry next door. Still there
Laundry.
now,
I
yeah.
don't remember much about that. I remember the...
Laundry?
Yeah.
Never saw washing on the
Didn't it
line
belong-
anyway. Let
didn't it
alone go
belong
to a
to the
laundry.
barber?
That's right, yeah.
Because what I remember distinctly is the barber shop, because it was green.
Still is.
Yeah, well, there you
Yeah,
go.
it still is.
But I remember that distinctly, and you used to have to go down a sort of slope to get into the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that place.
That hasn't changed an awful
And getting
lot.
on the bus from around the side
Yeah.
of the Downs Hotel.
Yeah, I can
The little
remember.
bus.
Do you remember when Pat was born?
Yeah,
And we-
got to meet Mum.
Yeah, and she was going to come on the
Yeah.
number 2 bus.
Yeah, she
And
used
we
to
waited
live
at Downs
outside.
Hotel.
I was
for her to
right
come, and then-
outside of the
And
hospital.
then she got off the bus with the baby, and of course it was the first time we'd seen our sister Pat. Really good, wasn't it? We walked home up, quite a way.
Yes.
And when we was at Newmarket Cottage, we used to have to go to Falmer School, not Woodingdean, because Newmarket came under Lewis County Council, and so we had to walk from the masts that are there now all the way down to Falmer to go to school.
Take
I
us
mean,
on
no
to
other way
get
getting
there.
there. Had to walk. And I can remember one day when there was a terrific fog.
Oh, yeah,
Do
yeah.
you remember?
Yeah.
We came out of the school because you could hardly see your hand in front of you with the thickness of the fog. So we decided to walk home. And we started walking up the track. And then we got picked up by the postman. Do you remember that?
No, we were on our way up the road, Bob, in that electricity van, wasn't
electricity
it?
van, yeah.
He used to come up there only perhaps once in every couple of weeks.
Anyway, he saw
Yeah.
us as he must have been right on top of us. He saw us. And he said, well, get in. And he dropped us at the bottom of the hill that goes up on.
We called it the bar way going up.
Yeah. And when we got home, it turned out Mum had left to go and meet us because it was so foggy.
Oh,
so
with a
we'd
great
missed
big
her.
pram.
And it shows you how foggy it was. We never saw her on the road.
Yeah. It was snow them days. It was snow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You couldn't see the field gate. It was right up over because of the
I can
dress.
remember one morning when Dad had to go around, because he was a shepherd, among other things, and he'd got the flock of sheep in the field behind the cottage,
Yeah,
which is that
that's
one
right.
there. And we used to use waddles to make pens for them, you know, really big ones, and probably an acre pen. And all the sheep were in there during the winter. And this particular morning, Dad had got ready to go out to his sheep, and he opened the door, the front door. I think there was only one door, wasn't there, in Newmarket?
Yes. Well,
Yeah. So he opened the front door, and there was a perfect mould of the front door in snow. It was completely filled,
Yeah.
and you could see the mould at the door. And so he had to dig his way out to get out to the sheep. And the actual depth of the snow, when it was level, was something like 2 foot, 2 foot deep. Yeah.
What is that thing pushing there?
about nobody's ever mentioned.
Has it been going all the time? I've only just noticed it. Well, it says
The
recording. but 1
northern
minute.
lights.
Oh yes,
Oh, yeah,
yes,
we
yeah,
had
we
to-
get around to that.
I think
When
this is working.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I think it's working all
When we
right.
were over the cottage in 1936, we saw the northern lights.
Yeah.
Brilliant it was.
Absolutely.
It was about midnight, and we saw, as I say, northern lights. We hadn't got a clue what it was. You could have read the newspaper.
Mum's